Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, they're known as Eurocrats, but the high-powered politicians of the European Commission are the EU's brain and its driving force. When Britain votes in the EU referendum, part of the decision will be whether that group of 28 officials should continue to have direct influence over Britain. Campaigners for Leave say they are an unaccountable and remote elite, and even many who want Britain to remain find it very hard to say a single good word about them. Our political editor, Gary Gibbon, has been to Brussels to meet some of them.
The citadel of the European project, the European Commission headquarters in Brussels. For those who want to leave the EU, this is the epicenter of a failed cult. This week, we've been into the belly of the beast. The Commission President, Jean-Claude Juncker, arrives for the weekly college meeting of all the commissioners, one from each country. They've been called Europe's cabinet, though it's all a bit more tactile than most cabinets. They propose Europe-wide laws, implement decisions, uphold treaties. Many, like President Juncker, are here after their own national electorates rejected them. Some have never held elected office. All know they are 55 days away from a moment in history.
This room, this building, have been truly shaken by the EU referendum. Nobody here wanted it to happen. With the immigration crisis continuing, the Eurozone crisis, with populist movements stirring across Europe, they fear contagion, copycat referendum movements in other European countries. It's seen as nothing less than an existential threat to the entire European project.
Commission Vice President Frans Timmermans.
You get the kiss on the head.
Yes.
Which is a great honour.
With so much at stake, he's warning Brexit voters, don't think negotiating a British departure will be smooth or straightforward.
Have you ever seen a divorce that is that amicable? I don't think so. If the whole of Europe is saying to Britain, please stay, we need you to stay, we want you to stay, we want you on board, you're important to us. And then Britain were to say, sod it, we don't want it, we're leaving. Do you then say the rest of Europe would say, all right, we're still good friends, let's... Of course not. Of course not. It will be a divorce, and divorce are seldom amicable.
It'll be mean and nasty.
Well, of course, everybody will be looking after their own interests.
Fear stalks these silent corridors. You hear many say they think Britain will leave. The traditional allies worry about losing arguments without the UK around. For many, it just adds to a sense of mobs with pitchforks at the gates. Competition Commissioner Margrethe Vestager is Denmark's former Deputy Prime Minister. She keeps a gift from anti-government protesters in her Commission office.
So they gave me this.
In honour of your austerity measures?
Actually, it was a reform of our benefit system.
I think there are some people in Britain who'd like one of those in every office here.
Well, you see,
Prominently displayed.
it's an eye catcher.
She was the inspiration for the heroine in the Danish TV drama Borgen, as the leader of one of Denmark's smaller parties in coalition.
Sometimes I wondered, how did they know?
They captured a lot of your life.
They captured a lot of not only my life, but also of Danish politics.
She could soon be in the spotlight in British politics, looking into any government help that happens for the Port Talbot Steelworks. She says her agenda in this job, including taking on US giants like Google, is very much the British agenda.
The British tradition is to be somewhat the awkward customer here.
Oh, I thought that was us. Now you're disappointing me.
Are you sure you're going to want us to stay when we come back to the table if we vote to remain? You might actually, a little bit of you or a few other commissioners might be thinking, oh, I wish they'd gone.
Well, I've been brought up to believe that you always need someone to say the opposite, because otherwise you get complacent and you don't get the necessary resistance, and then you don't get the new ideas.
It's a very British room, the Danish commissioners.
It's quite Danish. She's much hipper than I am.
I'm looking to see, have you packed your bags?
Lord Hill is Britain's commissioner, responsible for financial regulation, but not for much longer if Britain votes to leave.
I'm looking. Yeah.
You keep looking.
Yeah.
If Lord Hill keeps his job and Britain votes to stay in, He thinks the government should soften its harsh approach to the EU.
The logic flows that you want to make that work as well as you possibly can. And
So Britain ought to press the reset button, really.
I think on both sides there would be an opportunity to press the reset button, and I think that the logic of that, if the British people vote for that, is that you follow what the British people tell you to do.
But an awful lot of the British people, if there was a third box marked, oh, very well, if we must, but under duress, that's where they all would have ticked. They're not doing it to reset relations, are they? They're doing it to avoid horrors that they've been threatened with.
Well, I think people will vote for a variety of different reasons.
Tour the featureless corridors, and eventually you find a few offices set aside for the special Brexit task force. Pictures of the UK countryside sellotaped to the walls. Its head, a Brit, a veteran official who first came to Brussels 38 years ago.
Frankly, the EU has not been seen as glamorous or particularly popular. When I left the UK in 1978, I think my friends thought it was quite cool to go and work in Brussels. I'm not sure that that would be the case today.
His job is to warn the Commission which of its plans risks being a gift to the Brexit campaign, like banning high-powered kettles. But a few such initiatives seem to have mysteriously disappeared off the Commission agenda.
It's been said that the Commission at the moment is busy hiding things in a cupboard until after the referendum. Is there a cupboard bursting at the back here?
There is no cupboard, and we're not...
A torrent of directives will fall out the moment the referendum's
Absolutely
passed.
not. We are not hiding things. We are not storing things up.
The Ports Services Directive gets talked about. High-powered toasters and kettles and whether they're going to be regulated.
Ports Directive, kettles, where we've read reports about all of that. We are doing what we are here to do.
With little new British blood following his path to Brussels these days, some think the British voice here is in terminal decline.
If Britain votes to come out, you in this corridor with your task force could be trying to help Europe negotiate a Brexit deal.
Well, we don't speculate about that. Let's wait and see what the British people decide on the 23rd of June.
But that would be to some people, that would be an awkward position to be in as a Briton.
Ask me again on the 24th of June.
The new Commission insists it's turned a leaf, heard the critics not just in Britain, and is slashing back new laws, drawing in its tentacles.
There'll be British voters who think, but we have heard all this before. It's like the drunken husband saying to the wife who's about to walk out, don't worry, I'll give up the bottle. But the bottle for you is integration, and you always go back to it.
But you know, if anything defines Britons, it's common sense. And let's not take leave of our common sense. Let's just look at the facts. Let's just look at what we've done. We have withdrawn 100 proposals. We have changed the way we do business.
It's not an argument you hear David Cameron dare risk with the voters.
As a Dutchman, I can say it would be a tragedy if Britain were to leave.
And there might be contagion. Other countries, maybe even your own, might start having movements.
Well, you never know what the consequences may be, but I know for sure that if Britain leaves, the European Union will be weaker, and may I say, I think Britain will also be weaker.
The European Union could be in a dreadful crisis, couldn't it?
Yes, and so could Britain, by the way.
Awards and triumphs dot the halls here, but the talk is which country could follow Britain if it left. Few expect a reformed character to walk back in the door if David Cameron wins. On the eve of its 60th birthday, the beast holds its breath.
Gary Gibbon.
I've been